bringing you the latest news from Frenship Athletics. This is the Tiger Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back in. We are now in the Tiger Fan Zone. Trent Hilliard, the girls basketball coach, has joined me. He's still young. We were just talking to Lee Scott, who was talking about feeling old because he said he just turned 40 or he's about to.
I think about to.
I'm trying to think. Yeah. Now, one of my daughters was born right around the time when I was 40, and I will say that maybe made me feel a little bit younger, but I could go back to being to 40. I could handle that.
Yeah, wouldn't be too bad for sure. So
got a few rings around the tree trunk since then, but that's all right. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy where I'm at. I enjoy being here on radio with you guys twice a week. So, looked like you enjoyed what was going on last night.
Oh man, it was a great game for our kids. Played really well. You know, you don't know. You come in, you look at the record. Permian was 25-4. Ranked 12th in the state by TGCA, number 25 by TABC, both of which were not ranked. But, you know, you look at their schedule and say, man, they've played nowhere near the type of schedule that we have. But if you win 25 games, you're doing something.
Right.
And watching them on film, we see that they were very athletic, that they're long. They had a big a freshman kid that could get in there and battle Jada a little bit and do some things. And so, you know, we felt like we needed to come out early and play really well. And Permian came out and played really well with us. And, you know, it was a close game. Early on, it was, you know, 16-12. I think it was 15-12, actually. And towards the end of the first quarter, we stretched it out a little bit, and then we just went on a nice run in the second quarter and ended up being 40-16 at halftime. And we didn't let them breathe in the second half until late in the game. And so, you know, we took care of business and did what we needed to do, and you know, moved the ball really well, distributed it well, got some really balanced scoring. We had 4 kids double figures, and that was led by Jada, who set our school record individual game scoring with 37. She had tied it when we played Monterey earlier on the third game of the year. And then was able to break it last night. So she was sitting at 32, and I was getting ready to pull her out, and the kids were like, "No, let her stay." And so we let her stay in there, and then we went a little gap after she got 34 where she didn't score and didn't even touch the ball. Some of our kids, you know, just going up and down the floor, and so I said, I'm gonna give her, you know, next 30 seconds, and it was a dead ball, so we set up a set for her, and our kids did a good job getting her the ball, and she scored and got an and one and got the 37 points. So, you know, we had Bollinger last year had 33 points in that game, and I pulled her. We didn't have a scoreboard that had the points up on Dylan. I didn't know she had 33, and I've kicked myself ever since then for not giving her that opportunity. We just didn't know that she had 33 points at that point, and she did set the record last year against Permian with 9 3-pointers, and so she got that. But we wanted to make sure that Jada had that opportunity to get the scoring record, and again, do it against a good team. It's not a team that, you know, you're sitting there at 1-30 and going, okay, you can go dominate this team or whatever. Again, this team that's 25-4 coming in, and we made them look a lot worse than they really are.
Well, and I sort of buried the lead there. The final score last night was Frenship 91, Permian 41. So it was not the Tigers put their foot down in district. Now you guys have won 9 district championships in a row.
We have.
You are. I'm going to read through some of your schedule here. My guy Dane Daniel that covered the game for me for HubCityPreps.com mentioned this. You did this on purpose. You've done this every year I've covered you. You want your girls ready, but I'll say the first 5 games here. First 5 games. Argyle, Denton Guyer, Monterey, Tascosa, Amarillo High. Without looking, I'm going to guess all 5 are ranked.
Right.
All 5 have a chance to win. Probably have a chance to win a state championship.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You started the season with the 2 superstars, but then some other girls who had to kind of gain some experience. So you threw them into the fire.
Right, and we've always believed in trying to find the toughest teams that we can and play them. You know, we tell the kids all the time that there's not a banner hanging in our gym. There's a lot of banners in there, but there's not one that says you were November champions,
right,
or you know, that you won this tournament or anything like that. That's not our concern. Our concern is to get better, work hard. Good teams are going to expose things that you're not doing well, and that gives you time to correct them before you get into district play. And then district play is a whole new animal, and so you gear up for that. And our kids have taken on that challenge for the last 9 years and got that district championship, and that's where we're hoping to head again this year.
And the one loss here recently, I want to make sure I say this right, was to Liberty in the semifinals. No, you lost to Idlewood, I'm sorry.
Right.
But you lost to Liberty in the semifinals, and that's a very good Liberty team who plays, that's West Texas on West Texas there. Two very similar styles. Came back the next day, a little bit, Monterey was a little bit shorthanded that day.
Right.
But since then, you guys have, you took something from that loss that's made you better. We're coming up on a break. We'll kind of pick that back up when we come back in the Tiger Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.
Diving headfirst into Frenship athletics. You're listening to the Tiger Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back into the Tiger Fan Zone. We were talking to Trent Hilliard, you talked about this, unranked Tigers. So I've talked to Page about this, Paul Page about this before. To be a 6A program out here, you really have to catch somebody's attention to get ranked, because people think of 6A sports and they think the Metroplex, Houston.
Right.
You guys tend to kind of operate under the radar, which is not a bad thing sometimes.
You know the thing about our situation, it's not like a Texas Tech football where you got to get this ranking to get this seed or anything like that. Everything's predetermined. You take care of business on the court, then you're going to get into the playoffs, and it's determined who you're going to go play, and the 1 seeds and the 2 seeds and all that type of stuff. So rankings don't mean anything other than sometimes it's just nice to go, okay.
Right.
And Max Preps does a pretty good job because they do include the strength of schedule. And one of the things, we were ranked, I think, 11th in the state in Max Preps, and our strength of schedule was the 5th most difficult in 6A and like the 7th or 8th most difficult in the whole state of Texas. And that's hard to do because we don't get to play the Metroplex teams every day or whatever, but we do play, like you said before, Amarillo, Tascosa, Canyon, anybody that we can play around here that's going to be good, we're going to put them on the schedule if they'll schedule us. So that's the way you get better. So while the rankings don't mean anything, the kids like it if you are. I've always felt like it just gives you another target.
Yep.
We certainly put that out for Permian that, hey, they're ranked, you guys aren't ranked, and here they are. Our kids had a little extra incentive to go and make sure we took care of business. And so, if you can fly under the radar and nobody really looks at you, or when you get into the playoffs, those Metroplex teams don't really respect you, and if you're not ranked, then that's all they're looking at. This team, they can't do anything. Well, we can, and we'll get the opportunity to show those teams that hopefully when we get into the playoffs.
One of my favorite things is trying to explain to people that Wolford is actually a town. Yeah. It just happens to be right outside of Lubbock. Nobody ever puts that together. So I'm going to ask you a similar question to what I asked Lee, because all of that is true. Next year's going to be different. He came from Snyder, so coaching in District 4-5-3-5A has been a challenge for him because he's seeing different teams. You're going the other direction. You're going to go coach in 5A. Now, you've seen a lot of these teams on a regular basis. Are you kind of excited? Now, you're still a young guy.
Oh, yeah.
Are you kind of invigorated to get into that district, especially if it's that big monster district, to see what that's going to be like?
You hope it's not that 10-team district with us in Amarillo. The flip side of that I've always felt is if you can survive it and get into the playoffs, you're not playing those teams. You don't have to match up with Amarillo High until later on. And if you're in the same district, if not, then you could hit them second round. The way the playoffs are set, and so it becomes a little bit different, in that setup, But yeah, it'll be exciting to play some different teams, particularly when you get into the playoffs. 6A is a whole different animal in the playoffs because, the first round you go El Paso, okay, you're playing them, but the El Paso 6A teams are pretty good. They're not the old El Paso that really was 20, 30 years ago. They can play, and you survive that, well, now you're right into Metroplex. And so it's Metroplex round after round after round after round. And so, when I was at Cooper in 3A, well, we didn't get a Metroplex team until we got to the regional tournament, and we might have a Kennedale or somebody that was in at there, but you had a little bit easier route to get to that regional tournament. 6A you haven't, so 5A kind of gives you an extra round in there that maybe you don't have to face those Metroplex teams and get that athleticism before you get going. And so yeah, we're looking forward to what that is, especially our kids that are used to the 6A battles and all that. I think that carries a little bit of weight for a year or two with the mindset and what they've had to go through. You hope that carries over. Of course, we're missing kids that with Memorial Open, so it's not like when Amarillo dropped down to 5A. Because Amarillo they couldn't get past regional semifinals. They went to 5A, and 2 years later they're winning back-to-back state championships. And so hopefully we can kind of follow that model, even though we don't quite have the same number of kids that we've had, because Memorial's got some of those as well.
Which is another built-in thing you're going to have next year. You're going to have an automatic rival. You've got a few already, but you're going to have an automatic one next year.
It's going to be a lot of fun with all the local games that we'll have opportunities to put fans in the stands and really renew a lot of those rivalries.
As we said, he's played them before, so it's nothing new. On the road at Odessa High tomorrow, not Friday, tomorrow, 3 of the next 4 on the road, so Tigers get a chance to kind of put a stamp on what they're doing in District 2 6A. We'll be back after this break in the Pirate Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.